it's too late. I know now, I'm giving in. I can't back down, and you're so hot. Your web I'm cut.
What my sound preferences are. I like bass. I like, and if it can have quantity and quality, yeah, I'm rocking it. Especially mid bass. I like the slam over the sub bass. I like my mids super clean. Not a big fan of overly colored, overly thick, overly warm mids. Not a big fan of that. And highs that are very smooth. Seem to keep up without ever being overbearing or anything.
Kinda wanna lock this down. Wanna be up, want your bad love. Wanna be up, want your bad love. Wanna be up, want your bad love. The way I feel, you in my bones. You wrap me up when we're alone. How could I call this bad love when all I want is more? So put me up against the wall like you ain't afraid to love me hard. Although I know we must come to an end. I tell myself I'm okay, but I know that I shouldn't pretend. I'ma let my hair down now. I'ma let my hair down now. Turn the beat up, turn the beat up. I'ma let my hair down now. No, I shouldn't pretend. I'ma do it anyway. Turn the beat up, want the bad love. I'ma let my hair down now. Wanna get down to my favorite sound. I'ma let you in real close. I know I shouldn't do this right. I'ma do it anyway. I kinda wanna lock this down. Wanna be up, want your bad love. Wanna be up, want your bad love. Wanna be up, want your bad love. I shouldn't pretend. I'ma do it anyway. Turn the beat up, want your bad love. I'ma let my hair down now. Wanna get down to my favorite sound. I'ma let you in real close. I know I shouldn't do this right. I'ma do it anyway. Kinda wanna lock this down. Wanna be up, want your bad love. 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 I'ma let my hair down now. I'ma let my hair down now. Turn the beat up, turn the beat up. I'ma let my hair down now. No, I shouldn't pretend. I'ma do it anyway. Turn the beat up, want the bad love. I'ma let my hair down now. Wanna get down to my favorite sound. I'ma let you in real close. I know I shouldn't do this right. I'ma do it anyway. I kinda wanna lock this down. Wanna be up, want your bad love. Wanna be up, want your bad love. Wanna be up, want your bad love.
Hello, welcome to today's doubleheader. Yes, that was the NF Audio's KAZOO and the Monk playing special tune just for you. Keeping it real, keeping it fun, and today we're bringing you two. I'm bringing you the RA15 and I'm bringing you the RG15. This one is from their music series. This one is from their gaming series. Now, I'll talk about the RG15 at the end because it shares a lot of the same traits, but tuned differently and for different people. This was the gaming themed one for Assassin's Creed, and I kind of like it. I like the bling bling, you know that. And it does that in spades, and I thought it was really cool. I also had some help on this review from my teenage daughter, because as I don't think Clash of Clans counts as a true gamer, I let her go wild on it, and I got her impressions, and I'm going to share that at the end when I do part 2. But let's jump into the RA15. That's their little packaging that it comes with. I think NF Audio does a pretty good job of giving you that. I mean, these are $89. And I just really like the way they do their packaging. You open it up, it looks like a, throwback to my 90s when I worked in a stereo store. CD, right? It brings back warm fuzzies, and I like that about it. Inside the box, they have their combination of tips that they always provide, the same ones, called the MS42s. Now, I like these tips quite a lot, actually, but they don't work for me on this IEM because they're too short. So you're going to have to find your own way, but I actually think those tips are really, really quite good. Comes with this little single-ended SPC cable, and again, I don't mind it at all. Very non-tangly. It has a great little feel. QDC style ends. Yes, these IEM'S take a regular 2-pin as well. Here, my set is on a nice HCK Gray Dragon. Why? Because it just looks bling bling together. So, and it's 4.4. So that's the one thing criticism I have for NF Audio. Not so much a criticism, but a request that you give us the option to do 4.4 balanced as well. That would be really nice. As I mentioned, these ones are $89 list. They sport a solid, hefty cast metal shells. I think they're 160 grams. I'm not sure if that's 160 grams. That's probably double. I didn't throw them on a scale, but they do have some heft to them. Now, they come with, on this particular model, and why I'm going to do a comparison to the SIMGOT EA500LM, is like those, comes with swappable nozzles, what he said. And as I'm finding about NF Audio stuff, they don't do anything in small ways. So even their little nozzles look very high quality. Inside, you can actually see a little filter as well, so part of their tuning. And I'm going to talk about these metal shells in a bit, because later on in this video, when I do pull up a graph, I will tell you something that I found in my journey with these kind of metal. It's like speaker cabinets. I find different materials of speaker cabinets and thicknesses and dampening material all play a part in the tuning of speakers, and I think they do play a big part in tuning for IEM'S as well, because what I have found is IEM'S with metal shells actually have or sound like they have more bass than the graph indicates. And I do definitely think that's the case with this set as well. Now, some of the marketing stuff, as I'm going to put in the front in my slideshow, if you skip that, it uses NF's Audio's own MC2L 10mm dynamic driver with an integrated crossover network on the top of it. They designed to tune it as well. So it's electronically crossed over and physically as well, with some dampening as well. So you will see that inside of the different nozzles, they've also got different tuning foams as well. And the difference between, and I'll pull this up now, between the two different nozzles and the tuning isn't night and day. They do say one is warmer and one is more energetic, and that is, yes, dead bang on, though as we get into sound, I'll tell you that it's not a warm sounding IEM. This dual magnetic, let's talk about this driver. This dual magnetic array for, and so some things that I also know. So here's some marketing speak, but when because I've been in the audio industry over 30 years, I understand a bit about speakers and the build of speakers and the mechanical components of thus speakers. And one of the things when you hear manufacturers talking about, in this case, a dual magnetic array for an impressive 1 Tesla of magnetic flux to achieve greater, and this is what they're saying, to achieve greater driving force, higher sensitivity, better dynamics, and transient performance. Well, yes, if you can, and what does that translate to real world? Well, if you can get a higher magnetic field, you get more control over the driver, so you get less distortion, and that really comes through as a cleaner sound. And that's what that translates, that speak to what you actually hear. The dual cavity design helps control air pressure, cone movement, and control. This design creates a big stage and intimate details. That's what they're saying. And indeed, that is exactly what you hear. The stage is one of the standout features of this IEM, and it was the first thing that I immediately noticed when I started listening to this after I dialed it in with ear tips of choice, which happened to be, I hate pronouncing these, the Fayoul H570 tips. They've got a little bit of a cone shape, and they're a little bit sticky. I find they work great for me on this IEM as well. This unique driver creates a medium, so this dynamic driver itself has a very lightweight yet kind of medium density composite diaphragm. So it doesn't go further into that other than when we get into sound, it's a bit unique. And when I did that comparison to the fabulous SIMGOT EA500 LM, it's really the battle of drivers here. So let's talk about sources for a second. And I came to a amazing discovery. So I just said it in my previous video where I did all my favorite things in a case, and one thing I said is the SIMGOT EA500 LM, I don't pick it up very often because I find it still too much for me. Well, it was the first time with this comparison where I put the ONIX Alpha on that as my source, and I first tried it with a little bit warmer with the Shanling M5 Ultra, but man oh man, the synergy with the SIMGOT EA500 LM and the ONIX dongle was amazing. I love it. Equally as much, if not more, the RA15 and that $100 dongle is a match made with perfect synergy. Wow, oh wow. That little dongle source, just to talk about that, because it's super important when you're giving people impressions. You could be using something else that is super ESS brighty glare and go, God, this thing sounds horrible. That's why I think it's important when you're watching or reading reviews about what source the person is using, because that does play a massive part into your impressions. That dongle is analog. So for some of you who are younger who have never experienced analog, I'm talking reel-to-reel, cassette deck, vinyl, right? Where there is actually artifacting, there's noise, and it's not pure crystal clean. There is something about it. It is lower resolution, you might say, but done differently. So when I say that little dongle is analog sounding, it basically, what I mean by that is it actually smooths out the notes, smooths over the notes. One thing with that little ONIX dongle too is it has an amazing stage, wide and very immersive, great depth and layering. And that really plays a part into my sound impressions with the RA15 as well, because it plays to all of the strengths with that source and this IEM together. To talk about a couple track impressions, and with these track impressions, I'm also going to do the versus the SIMGOT, just to give you an idea as well. So first up, Sympathy for the Devil by the Rolling Stones. This is such a well-recorded track. The RA15 plays so cleanly, and a wonderful stage and 3D presentation. Great stereo separation and instrument placement, and vocal placement actually. And it allows such a dynamic playback that it lets the vocals, and that's what I mean by this, it lets the vocals stay on point, right? Singing in front of you, but instrumental, stereo, left and right separation, and all the mixing going on at different depths and left and right around you in this huge, spacious stage. And that's what you get in the playback of the RA15. Now, like I said, I'm going to flip over now to what if I threw in the EA500 LMs in my ear. Well, the RA15, it does a better job of the layering and the dynamics. It wins over on vocal tonality, better clarity on the vocals. It's not as veiled. Both are excellent in this track, but the NF audio edges it out slightly. They're trading blows. Piano comes through more defined on the RA15, but more weighted on the EA500 LM. Next track is Avenue A from the Symphony Sessions by Tom Cochrane and Red Rider. On the RA15, it does indeed sound like a live recording with a good sense of reverb and space. Guitar has excellent clarity and resolution. Really was an excellent playback. I enjoyed it quite a lot. The EA500 LM in this case was also done so very, very well. The guitar has more focus because the vocals are pulled back just a tad bit less. You could say the RA15 sounds a bit more mid-forward than the SIMGOT does. So there's that trade-off, losing clarity in the EA500 LM. But you get and you lose a little bit of clarity, and you get a little bit more intimate presentation for vocals. But you do get probably a more balanced with the instrumental on the SIMGOT versus the NF audio. You also get a perceived much smaller 3D stage with the SIMGOT over the NF audio. It definitely had a better presentation if you're a stage fiend like myself. It's one of those features I really like in an IEM that brings the wow factor, the excitement, the engagement, right? So let's play a bassier track. Let's play Fever by Malia and Boris Blank. Listening to female vocals here on the RA15 are devastatingly good. The bass pulls down low and imaging is fantastic. Now, the EA500LM, in comparison on paper, here's the graph, is more bassy. And in fact, that's the way it sounds. But in doing this side-by-side comparison, the EA500LM is less 3D and vocals are thicker, where the RA15, the female vocals are standout, and the EA500LM I find more favors male vocals, and it really would come down to what's your preference, right? I think overall, if I were doing a comparison between the two, just to sum up those two, the SIMGOT has slightly warmer mids and less forward upper mids, and just a smidge better for male vocals. They go to the LM 500 LM. That's where they go. Female vocals go to the RA15, as does imaging and resolution. The EA500LM has the slight edge for timbre and tonality on lower note instruments, where you would flip that, and for the RA15 would be the better of the two for strings, cymbal strikes, and hi-hats. They're, again, really trading blows between these two. They're very similarly priced, and it would really come down to your preferences. So in conclusion for the RA15, I'm going to say it is an excellent performing single dynamic driver. It exhibits excellent control, 1 Tesla of magnetic flux controlling that cone, and you can tell the quality of this dynamic driver that NF Audio put inside of this IEM. Sound is spacious, it's 3D, it's clean, and it's well behaved, even at higher volumes. That was one of the other things that I noticed. Offering the tunable nozzles was also fantastic. And while I wasn't a big fan of the stainless steel because of that little bit extra more upper mids, there's some of you that are going to really gravitate towards that. And here you get a really small, comfortable, really well-built metal shell in an IEM that's tunable, again, like the SIMGOT EA500, and why that one sold, hundreds of thousands of units, the same idea. If we were to talking about its overall tonality-wise, and some of these two with the RG15 share, like the staging is very, very good on that IEM, and I'll talk about that in a second. But if I were to talk just RA15 to sum up the sound of that, the bass is definitely not bass head level bass. It's not even close. But it does have nice texture and sounds natural. And again, I think that has to do part of it with how they tuned it, and that metal shell is adding in some of that special sauce. Pancho Sanchez, his drums, they sound correct. That's what I mean by they did good on the bottom end. Metal shells I find graph more and have a different tonality than what you actually hear in ears. Instrumental comes through naturally on the RA15, and it does do favor, I think, strings over kick drums. for a slightly north of neutral, brighter tonality that is completely, I still think, very unoffensive. As a person who is treble sensitive, it's unoffensive completely to me, yet lively and very detailed. The sparkly treble that gives a good sense of air and separation rounds out the top end, making the playback entertaining and very detailed. I would not call the brass nozzles tuning warm, as they do, NF Audio does kind of say. I would just say that it's just slightly warmer than the stainless steel nozzles. The stainless steel nozzles, though, would be great for those who favor slightly more energetic, lively performances. The imaging and stage, again, I'll say that again, it was one of the standout parts. Large, it's an immersive, and it has a great presentation that I do find very engaging. With the right source, I'm going to say that again, and the right tips, I think you will get really rewarded with an excellent musical experience. Now, talking about the RG15. Well, this little guy is special in the fact that they've done a lot of really cool stuff to the graphics and the looks. And again, I think it's bringing not just the theme, but the whole presentation. And because it's more gaming themed, you also get a bigger bass shelf. And for me, that's what it is. You get a bigger V. It's less balanced, it's less refined and less polished for music over the RA15 was my thoughts on that. Just using it with a regular 2-pin cable, not the DSP cable, I thought it sounded more raw, actually more in your face. I got a bit of sibilance with the RG15. And there's definitely, even though, which is a bit surprised on that, is because on paper, other than the bass shelf, they literally look the same all the way up to the very top registers of frequency. So I would think that it was going to be softer and more rounded, and that's the finding I did, and from the just swapping it over from 2-pin to 2-pin with the same source with that ONIX. Now, with that DSP cable, I'm assuming it's a DSP cable inside because it changes its tonality quite a lot. It now goes to actually smoother and warmer. Gone is the raw, in-your-face V-shape, and you get a very nice mid-range and still get that detailed top end. I still get a little bit of sibilance up top when I push up the volume a bit, where I didn't get that with the RA15. So I still prefer the RA15 for its more balanced tuning and refined sound and stage when it comes to just musical playback. The RA15 has a very addictive playback, though when I was listening to jazz and rock, I think it'd probably be a better choice if that is your preferred genres. For those who prefer a more substantial bottom end and like a more V-shaped sound, but for music, for me, I should say the RA15 is the more tonally correct IEM of the two. The RA15, to my ears, is the better choice and the all-rounder for listening to music. Now, giving my daughter's impressions about this for gaming. Her first thing that she noticed is the microphone. There's a MEMS mic inside of this that seemed to be very high quality. She said everyone could hear, and she could hear back for playback for different players. So that was a feature that they did offer on this particular unit, and apparently it works quite well.
One thing that she did note, that she loves the fact that the smaller form factor for smaller ears was definitely a bonus. They fit her really, really well, as they fit mine, medium and large ears, with different tips, of course. But she noticed the weight. So one thing that she said is over long periods of time, she would feel the weight in her ears and it would be a little bit fatiguing. So for longer sessions, it would have been nicer to have maybe a resin shell. That's something that would have been lighter. So, but overall, she quite enjoyed this for gaming quite a lot. Now, the funny thing is, too, is I asked her to try the RA15s, and she, like myself, like her dad, prefers it for music. So I thought that was quite interesting as well. The extra bass, though she liked it for gaming, she didn't like it as much for music. And maybe she's listening to me too much. But I'm not coaching her for her thing. She has very good ears, I think, as well. So, but we both preferred the RA15 for music, and she enjoyed these quite a bit for gaming. So there you go. I want to thank NF Audio for providing these two, and it's going into my box as one of my favorites as well. And it's going to be now like the EA500LM, as a, you want to play in this market, then you got to compete with this guy. So that's it for now. Thank you much. Oops. I suck. Oh, by the way, they sell those kazoos in multiple different colors. You gotta get one. Though Kilo absolutely hates it.